Good morning, 8th grade. It was really nice to see you guys all yesterday in the Zoom session. Hopefully you guys had a good Wednesday. You were able to stay cool. I'm glad that you guys were able to socialize. It's really cool to see you guys being lively and pretty much just having a good time, especially when there's nothing else we can do, is just have a good time in Zoom sessions. And I really do look forward to seeing you guys in Zooms. And it was really nice today. So hopefully you guys had a good time. So that's going to pretty much cover what we're talking about in the north, and we're going to go ahead and move down south. And down south, they did a lot of things differently. Like we were talking about, they had slaves, they relied on agriculture. So today, we're going to talk about, while the north was booming with manufacturing and all these new inventions, the south needed to catch up, and they were doing stuff on their own time and had their own inventions as well. So we're going to go ahead and talk about those today. So today, we are going to talk about the cotton industry and how the cotton gin revolutionized farming back in the South. So let's go ahead and jump into the content. So today we are going to talk about the growth of the cotton industry, and we're going to talk about how the cotton industry kind of brought the South out of their economic downfall, because they were losing a lot of demand and losing everything because everything was going to the north. So the South needed something to bring back their economy, and cotton was the savior. So, sectional differences had always existed between different regions of the United States. North versus south, east versus west. Depending on where you live, there's always differences. The revolutionary changes in the industry and transportation deepened the difference between the north and the south. The south remained mainly agricultural. New technology actually did help the region become the Cotton Kingdom. So here we go. Let's go ahead and talk about the Cotton Kingdom. So as you guys know, cotton is everything that we wear or buy now has some type of cotton, and most of that cotton comes from the US. Even to this day, shirts that are made in China, Europe, South America, most of that cotton is actually coming from America. Most cotton is produced in America still to this day, which is kind of cool. So you can just see how the global economies work now. So before the American Revolution, tobacco, rice, and indigo, they were the most important crops in the South. These were these crops that were making money. They were making money for everybody. And the reason why they were making money is because all these crops were grown by slaves. And slaves, you never had to pay them. So everything you produced, you made profit off of, because you never had to pay the slaves for farming these goods. Unfortunately, after the American Revolution, the prices for these crops dropped, and the demand of the slaves went down, and the price on the slaves went down. So the whole economy took a big downturn. Because nobody really needed rice, no one really needed tobacco or indigo anymore, or it was getting shipped out. There was no more slaves. So these farmers, these plantation owners, needed some way to make some more money. And the thing that they turned to and that helped them was cotton. Cotton, in about the late 1700s, it changed everything. And the cotton pretty much transformed the southern economy, and it increased. And when cotton demand increased, so did slave labor and the demand for slaves. So because of cotton, slavery increased and the economy in the South increased. So to give you some background on cotton, this is what a bushel of cotton actually looks like. So cotton, it wasn't very profitable. No one really needed cotton because things were just being made with other items. And when cotton kind of became profitable, they realized we need more cotton. But in order for that to happen, you have to turn these little cotton balls into thread. And in order to make cotton thread, it was a really long and tedious process. So cotton, there was two types of cotton. There was the long staple cotton, which it was also known as black seed cotton, and pretty much this cotton just had longer fibers. But this cotton only grew in certain areas of the South. You also had short staple cotton, which is the more common cotton, and this was known as green seed cotton. This was the most common cotton, and the threads were a little bit shorter. So the way cotton works is you get these cotton balls, and within these little cotton balls, there's a bunch of seeds that are inside the cotton. And in order for you to make thread out of this, you have to take out all the seeds from the cotton. And this would take forever, because in the long staple cotton, just think of getting like a needle in a haystack. That's kind of what was going on with this cotton. You had to take these seeds out, and it was very hard to pull the seeds out and still have a lot of cotton left. So you can only imagine how much cotton it would take in order for you to make just some thread. So after they would remove the seed from the cotton, then they would get the cotton, pull out the seed or pull out the threads, and then make that into pull out the cotton strings and then make it into a thread. It was a long process. For example, that little bushel of cotton, to take out all the seeds from that cotton and make it into thread, could take up to 2 or 3 days. So it was horrible. A lot of tedious work. And you can only imagine how the slaves felt about that, or just how anybody felt about taking all the seeds out of the cotton. It's almost like getting your headphones tied in a knot. Some of you guys are really good at taking the knots out, some of you guys aren't, and it can take you forever. So, in the 1790s, the demand for cotton grew in Europe, and the US needed to keep up with cotton manufacturing because they were the only ones supplying cotton. So what they did was they said, we need to come up with a machine that can take the seeds out for us and make cotton into thread so we can make and sell cotton to Europe and we can make more money. And that's exactly what happened. So in 1793, this northern person, some guy, his name was Eli Whitney, he was from the north, he invented this thing called the cotton gin. And the cotton gin was a machine that removed the seeds from only short staple cotton, and what it was like a hand crank. It was perfect. It was like a shredder and a divider and everything worked. So the way it worked was, you see in the picture, you would see the cotton, you would put it in there, you would crank it, and pretty much what the crank did was they had a bunch of these little teeth inside, and these little teeth would kind of shred up the cotton, and then the seeds would fall off, and then the cotton would come out on the other side as little cotton balls. From the cotton balls, then you can go ahead and start to pull apart the cotton and make it into a thread. So this cotton gin revolutionized the whole cotton industry. The reason why they call it the cotton gin is because gin was actually short for engine. So it was pretty much like the cotton engine, but they just called it the cotton gin. And when this was created, he put a patent on it in 1793, meaning that he was the only one that could make it, and anybody that made it had to pay him rights, or they had to get it from him. So that's what a patent is. So if you have an invention, you patent it so no one can steal your idea. But as the demand grew for cotton, this cotton gin, even though it had a patent, everybody pretty much just forgot about the patent, and everyone started to try to recreate their own cotton gins because they saw how revolutionary this was. I mean, all you do is hand crank it and it removes all the seeds, and now they're able to make cotton thread faster than ever. So there's these people, they were called planters, and these planters were large-scale farmers who had more than 20 slaves. They built these huge cotton gins that could process tons of cotton in a matter of a few days. So instead of doing it by hand and producing a little bit of cotton, they made these machines way bigger than before, kind of like the ones you see in the industries, and they would pretty much process all this cotton. And pretty much what happened is, because of this cotton gin, it booms the cotton industry. Now cotton industry was able to produce cotton faster. They were able to trade more, and with demand for cotton rose, so did their economy. The bad side is, though, with all this cotton, there had to be some people to pick the cotton and people to use these machines. And this is when slaves came in. And now the business of slavery is booming. So after the American Revolution, it kind of went down, but after the invention of the cotton gin, the demand for slaves increased, and this is kind of like what we know about today as slaves being cotton pickers. It's all because of this, the Industrial Revolution, because of the demand for cotton, and because of the cotton gin. So that's the only downside. The upside, the South was able to create their economy again, and now they're able to go ahead and build these cotton gins. One thing that was cool about these cotton gins as well that I forgot to mention is that these cotton gins, not all the time did they have to be made cranked by humans. They made it so water can turn them, or horses can go ahead and crank it. So all slaves were just picking cotton, and pretty much water and horses were the ones operating the cotton gin machines. So today we talked about the cotton boom, and how cotton revived the South's economy. Before, they had tobacco, rice, and indigo, and slaves, but after the American Revolution, the demand for all that stuff went down. And they needed something to save their economy. Cotton was it. The demand for cotton rose, and we needed more cotton. But cotton was very hard to produce because you had to remove those seeds. So they needed an invention to keep up with the demand. The invention came by Eli Whitney's cotton gin. And pretty much what it did was it separated the seeds from the cotton, which allowed them to make the thread. This machine revolutionized everything. Even though Eli Whitney put a patent on it and wanted to keep it a secret, word got out and people started to steal his idea because they needed it. As soon as the cotton demand grew and the machine started to pretty much revolutionize the cotton industry, the slave industry came back. And now the demand for slaves is necessary. So more slavery, more cotton, more money, but that was kind of what was going on. So even though the cotton was good for the economy, it was bad for the slaves. But yeah, that's how the cotton gin revolutionized and kind of brought the South back to life after the American Revolution. So for homework, I want you guys to answer these 3 questions. Why was there less demand for slave labor after the American Revolution? What happened after the American Revolution? Why did they not need slaves as much? Number 2, what effects did the cotton gin have on the Southern economy? So what did the gin do? What effects did it have on the economy? And number 3, what effect do you think the cotton gin had on the demand for slave labor? So there you go. Those are your 3 questions for today. So that concludes our lesson for today. Nice and short. Talked about the cotton gin and everything like that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. If not, don't forget we are going to have another Zoom session tomorrow, Friday morning at 11 a.m. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys all there. Hope you guys have a good Thursday, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.